But the main event was flawless. It was the Stadium Stampede, sort of like fallout of the Inner Circle having a pep rally. Like in my head, maybe Chris Jericho had already booked this as a character. He'd already this is the celebration, and he'd gone, "Oh crap, we lost." Just like the T-shirts. So he changed it to a pep rally to raise his troops' spirits. This was classic Jericho. You can see this template of segment throughout his career, and he always knocks them out of the park. Festival of Friendship is the most recent. And that is, it starts off as an over-the-top, silly celebration of something. And by the end, there is a huge tonal gear shift where you build a very serious match and a proper good angle.
And this was all goofy comedy between the Inner Circle. You had Vicky Guerrero introduce them dressed as a cheerleader where she was screaming, "Excuse me," and introducing each of them individually. Jericho saying they're going to rise like 5 sex phoenixes. Giving out the T-shirts that they were trying to get rid of to the fans as a babyface thing. Sammy gives them bad trophies, one of which is like, best dad jokes because shops aren't really open at the moment. Santana gives Sammy some Vicks Vapor Rub for his injuries. Jericho gives him a scooter so he doesn't have to use his silly crux. Ortiz can't hear anything at the moment. That's his new gimmick because of the bell ringing. So he just keeps screaming.
Oh, really? Because like when that happened, I just remembered Ortiz's spelling of the bell.
And so they gave him like some earphones so he can now hear things again. And Jericho's like, "Yeah, that'll stop the ringing." And my personal favorite bit of this was Jake Hager reading a poem. Because he's reading this poem and it's quite lovely, really. And, and it's just this very nice thing about his best friend. And then all of a sudden, at one point, switches to how he's just going to start ripping people's heads off and kill people. So where the Inner Circle had to calm him down. And then Hager goes, "The end."
Yeah. Honestly, it's so funny. Everyone's playing their roles perfectly. It was all killer. There was no bad or duff jokes in this. And stuff like the best dad trophy from Sammy to Jericho. Sure, that just seems like an innocent joke there, but actually there's some, the Sammy and Jericho, the father figure, there's a lot going on there. It's all tied to character. That's what makes it work in such a satisfying way. And you go from all of that, and Sammy says, "Well, I've got a cheese platter and a little bit of the bubbly for us to take our mind off things." Because I think he said, "Well, what do you really want, Jericho?" And Jericho says, "Mike Tyson's head on a platter." Really stupidly written like that in the best possible way.
He once punched him on an episode of Raw in 2010. So they're building up from that.
Yeah, he said one Monday night in whenever 2010. So that's a really nice detail to remember. I forgot that happened. Weirdly.
Yeah, so did I completely.
Considering like how much Tyson Jericho has been mentioned in the last couple of days, and it turns out that the platter has already been seen to. Someone's eaten all the cheese. Someone's drinking a little bit of the bubbly. It's Mike Tyson and his gang of terrifying, legit shoot fighters who I can't say the names of.
Now, I'm going to tread carefully here because I got a message from someone last week who said that they are not going to watch this podcast anymore because I don't like basketball.
Well, that's extreme.
Well, yeah, because I don't know everything about basketball, they took personal offense to that, so they're not watching the stream anymore. So I'm going to tread carefully here and say I have no idea who these people are, but they did look super duper tough. And Mike Tyson had an excellent boxing career. I said he had an excellent boxing career. I was just asking, what does that mean? I didn't know he was making a comeback. And yeah, so that is all I will say on that.
I know what you mean, but I still stand by my point. Mike Tyson now isn't as big of a draw as he was in 1997.
That's Oli Davis saying now. That's not me.
I don't know why people are arguing against this.
At him on Twitter, not me this time.
I don't know why this is up for debate. It's quite like he is. Anyway, I can see the viewership just plunge of live viewers now. So yeah, they all come out, and these I don't know. I don't know the names of these people, but one of them was a 2-division UFC champion. He only successfully defended his bantamweight championship just a couple of weeks ago, and then he retired, vacated the belt. He was there. I read one comment on Reddit somewhere being like, well, during the pandemic, everyone's been hoarding loo roll. Mike Tyson's just been hoarding shoot fighters. And I love the idea that if Tyson was going to turn up at a show in a legit world to start a fight with someone, of course, he would come with actual backup, and he wouldn't tell you in advance. He wouldn't like bill it or tweet it like that. So I thought this came across as so realistic, and maybe I can see why people didn't like it, that it was a bit clunky, that Tyson did look a bit goofy when he went up to Jericho. He couldn't properly get the shirt off. There was one guy in his posse that just was actually quite infuriating. He had like face paint on. But it all just it felt so real.
Well, can I read you the Gorilla Position tweet that I was referencing earlier? That said, this looks too much like a hugely less impactful rerun from 1998. Shame to see AEW trying to recapture old WWE angles when it's doing so much great inventive creative stuff on its own. And look at the state of Tyson, crying with laughter face. And then made the joke, next week Jericho is going to drive a champagne truck to the ring and give the Elite a bubbly bath. In reference to and with a gif of Austin doing the beer bath thing. And looking at the comments, people are being like, what the hell is up with Tyson? That's embarrassing. This is TNA bad. That segment was terrible. Oh dear, that was painful to watch. Good Lord, that was awful to watch. Couldn't agree more. They're the new TNA. So yeah, I mean, it's, but I have seen Kenny McIntosh, who we've now decided to call Kenny,
after his favorite wrestler in the world, Kelly.
So Kenny loved it, said that he thought it was an excellent segment. So I really have seen people like you and Kenny in one aspect being like, this is a really great segment. And people on the other side being like, well, because WWE once did a thing with Tyson, AEW are just copying WWE now.
Yeah, if that's how you feel, if you feel it's repetitive, okay, yeah. But I wouldn't discount the fact that some people really, really enjoyed it as well. Where would you fall on it overall?
Well, when I made my comment about Tyson first time round on this, which got me a lot of heat, I said the one thing I didn't want to do was for Tyson to make an ass of himself and for it to come across as a bit goofy. And when he struggled to get his t-shirt off, that's the sort of thing that I was always a little bit worried about. The sort of things that people can look at and be like, well, that's silly now because you can't look at him. He can't even fight a t-shirt. That's the sort of thing I was worried about. But I actually thought, that aside, the brawl and everyone getting in the ring and separating them was really effective. And I think it is because, as you said, it comes off the back of a very goofy segment. Pure goofy comedy switches into this really serious thing. And it did make me want to see a match between Jericho and Tyson. And surely that's the point of it. And I thought that was, really quite cool.
It's amazing how Jericho works in quite subtle ways. By the end of this episode, he's got feuds and potential matches with Mike Tyson and Orange Cassidy. One of them, the hottest person in AEW, you could argue. Another one, an absolute legend in the sports world. Maybe they will combine. Maybe we'll see Sammy and Jericho versus Cassidy and Mike Tyson.
Wow, taking on the baddest man on the planet and Mike Tyson.
But yeah, a word on that.
That's a joke, by the way.
A word on that pull apart brawl. I also thought it was really good because I saw this bleach blonde head in there. And WWE have a thing of, there's a pull apart brawl, only the undercard go down. I thought it made it feel so important when I saw that Cody was actually trying to separate them as well. Yeah. I loved it. If you didn't like it, all the power to you.